Good morning and welcome to the Saturday Morning Quarterback Show. This is Bob Hayes, and with me in the studio this morning are coaches for the Tigers, Jeff Riley and Bradley Sallins. Coach Barnes has other official football business to attend to this morning, and we're happy to have Jeff and Bradley with us to break down last night's ball game. Last night in Cadiz, the Tigers notched their 7th win in a row and their 3rd district win over the Trick County Wildcats 37-6. It was a game that not only featured the players but also the officials. We'll talk about this game when we return after these messages from our sponsors.
October's a time for planning those home projects you've been putting off all summer. Fredonia Valley Bank has the right kind of loan to suit your needs. Whether it's a new roof, gutters, painting, or remodeling, Fredonia Valley Bank can assist and step you through the loan process with ease. You can count on Fredonia Valley Bank's experienced loan officers when applying for a home, vehicle, commercial, or ag loan. Loan decisions remain local and are guaranteed to stay with Fredonia Valley Bank for the life of the loan. It's a good feeling to know that local decisions are still being made at Fredonia Valley Bank, your real community bank. 600 Cassidy Avenue, Fredonia, and 226 Commerce Street, Eddyville. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Here's a reminder from your Princeton Electric Plant Board. Meter tampering is dangerous. Tampering with an electric meter is not only dangerous, it is dishonest and against the law. Stealing electricity by tampering with an electric meter may result in your arrest and can even risk your life. Tampering with meters results in increased utility bills that everyone has to pay. If you see anyone tampering with an electric meter, call the Princeton Electric Plant Board right away at 270-365-2031. Princeton Electric Plant Board, Princeton's #1 energy source.
We're back with the show. Trick County last night received the opening kickoff after the Tigers win the toss and elect to defer. And that's something Jeff will ask you. Is that pretty well our standard this year? If we win the toss, we're going to defer?
Yeah, I think so. I think we like to play to our defense a little bit, and then you get the extra possession in the second half. And I think, those are, generally speaking, are some advantages that we look for. Sometimes weather will play a part in that, but yeah,
well, we all, stop them. They go first and out. In fact, it was late in the first quarter before Trigg County picked up their first down last night, and I didn't check the paper this morning for first downs, but they did not have many at all last night. Our defense all night long, even though it was a long football game, seemingly felt like midnight when it was over, but it wasn't. But they start the game and can't do anything. So we get the ball back. And we go 3 and out, trying to run. Looked like we were trying to feature our running game on that first drive, Bradley. I know we had 2 runs that didn't pick up anything, and then an incomplete pass that Joby looked like he was a little bit unsure on where he wanted to go with his pass.
Yeah, last night looking back, we kind of had an idea of what they would do on defense, but Coach Dixie Jones over there had an excellent game plan. He mixed some things up on us defensively that we not necessarily weren't prepared for, but hadn't worked a lot on. They went a lot of zero coverage with no, which means no safeties back there on us, and and brought some more pressure than what we had seen on film. And it took us a series or two to kind of get in the groove there, and it rattled us a little bit, but I guess speaking well of our guys, they were able to regroup and bounce back, and we had a good game plan. But a lot of that's what you talked about earlier. I mean, our defense buys time for our offense, and they could not get anything going with us early last night, and our defense is the one that was able to do that for us and turn the tide.
We punt to Trigg after we can't gain our first down on our first possession, and Trigg on their second possession can't get anything done either, and they punt back to us. Our guys put together a 2-play drive with Joby throwing to Trail for 25 yards and then hitting Travis Newsom for 38 yards, sandwiched around a 5-yard penalty on the Tigers. So that 2-play drive, and then something else that was strange in this game, Boyce Nichols missing an almost automatic extra point that's been his lot this year. So we go up 6-0, and on the 2 passes, and we'll talk. Jeff, you're more concerned with defense.
Yeah, well, I coach the defensive line, so I kind of help more on the defensive side, and I help Coach McClung out with the offensive line. So
On the pass plays, I noticed in our first drive we threw the first pass was kind of shaky looking. Joby not knowing exactly where I think he wanted to throw it, but on the next drive we had two kids in stride and pick up the easy touchdown. And again, you picked up on their coverage,
right?
What they were doing coverage wise,
right? And we were, Will and I were talking, Coach Barnes and us three were talking, and they got Joby on the side and talked to him, and then the next drive we came out, Joby, he went to work. He started stepping up in the pocket and doing what he's done for us the last 3 weeks, and I mean he did a really good job there. It seemed like at the end of the first quarter and second quarter, and hitting our receivers in stride, and he had an excellent first half there for us. So.
And an outstanding first half when you break it down like we're going to do here. In Trigg's third possession, they still are unable to pick up a first down and punt to their 43-yard line, and our defense was not allowing anything, Jeff, on those first three drives. They were trying to run it. They were trying to pass it. I think they had a mixture of about maybe 6 running plays, 6 passing plays, and couldn't get anything done.
Yeah, I think our kids were really prepared. I think they were pretty fired up to play. I think, I think they had a tough time up front blocking our linebackers and our defensive line kids. If you kind of look at the stats about, they don't always tell the story, but it gives you an idea. And those guys were just kind of making plays, and secondary kind of were rallying to the ball. And I just think they just play defense. That's what they do. They go out and fly around. And Trigg just had a tough time getting anything going with those guys playing well.
And most of these 3 drives, even the punts that resulted from those ineffective 3 drives, we played a lot of time in their end of the field in the first quarter. And after this third drive that didn't get anywhere for Trigg County, the Tigers take over and begin a drive, 1 first down to the Trigg 32, and then we have a penalty and a sack on the 3rd and 20. Have a wide open pass dropped, and then we have to punt. And then before this, we got on the air this morning, Bradley, you were talking about Trigg had 12 men on the field in that particular part of the game.
Right, and we just kind of were. I guess I got dumbfounded a little bit, but even with 12 men on the field, we had a wide open pass, attempt, and I know old Tate, he probably, we were laughing when we got back to the field house last night. It seemed like that ball hung him at the air forever, and he was thinking, oh no, I'm about to get hit, but
I've got to run.
Yeah, and as soon as he dropped, because he ducked that head down, and even then, he ended up bouncing back. That was his first varsity start, and and you do that in a rivalry game like that, and it speaks a lot for him to be able to step in there and play that position, because the Y position, which used to be what we called a tight end, but we flex it out a little bit. That's a very key position in the offense that we run, and I thought he did a good job for his first varsity start, and we had some other guys step up in last night too. So,
well, and it wasn't a very fascinating football game, tactics wise, and everything like that. We dropped the pass, then we're forced to punt on 4th down. Trigg County still can't get anything done. Then we punt back to them, and is that the play where I think Dylan Kavanaugh goes down?
Right after we punted it back to them. I think we ended up downing it on about the 4 or 5, but Dylan went down. Dylan went down right there, and then we had Cameron Baker came in and did an excellent job for us, and so did Isaiah. He came in trouble. He did a very good job for us. We would put him in when we wanted to go do some different things on defense. So they both did an excellent job of fulfilling their roles and being team players last night.
And again, Trigg can't make their first down, and they punt to us, and we stand ready to have the ball in outstanding field position, but Trail just takes his eye off the ball, tries to field it on the bounce, and bad things usually happen, and bad things happen there.
Right.
So we can't. We certainly don't take over. Trigg picks up a first down as the first quarter comes to an end. We're still up 6-0 at the end of the first quarter, and they go 3 and out, having to punt back to the Tigers, and we take over at our 5-yard line. Again, on this a big play on first down was a Jameer run for 34 yards up the middle, and for a while, second, I thought he was going to go all the way. It looked like he had a wide open field, and finally, I think the yard line brought him down.
Yeah, he made a couple of cuts there, and he busted wide open there. And the funny thing about that was we looked up and they were in zero coverage again, which means they had 7 guys in the line of scrimmage, but he busted the first attack and the first line. And when you do that, the next guys are your secondary guys, and they're in man coverage, so you're looking at a big play right there, and that's kind of what happened.
When that play developed, it looked to me like that they must have had 8 guys in the secondary, only 3 on the line, because that hole opened up immediately and was big enough for me to get through there.
Right.
And
yeah, it was power play.
Yeah, and he got in the secondary with 2 steps and open spaces all around him, and I'm sure he got touched or what, but I thought, hey, he's going to go 95 yards on this play.
And that's something that we teach our kids a lot. Coach Barnes has done a very good job, I think, over the years, extremely good job of teaching our kids. Man coverage is kind of, from the defensive standpoint, Jeff can talk more about this than I can, it's kind of an intimidating factor if you don't see it. Yeah. But then once you can handle it, the defense is susceptible to big plays if you bust it, because you're pretty much, in poker terms, you're going all in on that play, and if you get busted, it's a big play, and that's what happened.
Block on that too.
Yeah, he did.
And being in the center of the field, you just have to go. It's straight north-south. It's not trying to weave your way through traffic and all of that. And then at the end of that play, another thing that just kind of infuriated me was the fact, and you all explained it before we went on air, we get a penalty for delay of game. Not the conventional delay of game, but because the officials, and I'll speak to the officials now.
Thank you.
Because the officials were late in getting the ball set, we snap it before the white hat puts it in play, and thus we get called for a penalty for delay of game.
Right, and that's kind of what happened. We may have snapped the ball a little too soon before they put it in play, and we're not going to get onto our kids for that, because that's what we preach. We got to go fast, get set up, and we did a very good job of that last night, I think.
Well, and to me, the burden is on the officials to get up and get the play, get the down marker set, get the ball in play, and as we mentioned also before the show, you usually stand over the ball before it's put into play, so that everything becomes official. And it wasn't in that case last night, but that didn't slow us down any. Joby hits Oliver with a 24-yard pass reception to the Trigg 41. Jameer with a 4-yard run, trail 11-yard pass from Joby, a big 15-yard penalty against Trigg. And Jameer another 8-yard run, a trail 6-yard run, and a penalty against Trigg half the distance to the goal line. And then Dylan comes in with our power backfield package, and I don't know how many people we bruised on that play, but I'm still looking for him to get in the end zone. I guess he got in there somehow.
He did, and that's been a good little mix-up for us with short yardage, especially on the goal line. And you put Cole and Hunter in there. About said Drake, but Cole and Hunter in there, and you lead up in there, and Dylan's not really light in the tail either. So when you try to take him down, that's a load to take down. So that's been a good little mix-up for us.
Well, on the week before, we have a play where I'm thinking we're trying to get Joby in the end zone for a touchdown, running behind Cole and Hunter, and all of a sudden he pulls up and he's going to throw the ball, and it was on Coach Barnes said that was a call pass play.
Yes.
And so obviously we have options off of that off of that package, and we get a penalty on the touchdown. It makes us have to kick an extra point, which covers 35 yards. We do that. Boyce excellent all night long on his kicking, except for that first touchdown. Caldwell goes up 13-0. Trigg's drive, they begin a drive from their 20, and it reaches the Tigers side of the field, aided by a 40-yard pass completion and a horse collar tackle on us, and that gets them in great position. Basically, 2 plays they had last night accounted for a lot of their yardage. But Trigg forces a 4th and 12, and from the Trigg has to get to our 8-yard line, 4th and 12 from our 20. Cameron Jordan elects to run the ball. I guess it was a pass option run for him. He gets free, gets to the 10-yard line, and then slides. And I want to ask you your guys' opinion when you're still in the game, only down 13-0, do you opt to slide at the 10-yard line, 2 yards short of a first down?
Well, that's not something I think you would in essence you would want your kid to do. I don't know if, maybe he thought he had the first down, didn't want to take a hit. I know on film he's a tough kid and runs the ball really hard.
200 pounds. I mean,
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know why
he should have run the ball, Jeff.
Yeah,
he should have ducked his head and gone in there.
As a coach, you want him to do
Period.
that. I won't speak to why he chose to slide in that manner, but we're kind of glad he did.
Well, and the other thing on that play, he slides his feet, and I looked, Bradley did not have the ball between his feet when he slid. And they slid at the 10. To me, they should have marked the ball back at the 12. That's where the ball was. But they mark it up on the 10. That's another gripe about the officials last night. That was on our side of the field, right down in front of me. But anyway, we stop them. We take over on downs, and I'm shaking my head all the way through the rest of the quarter into halftime. Why with a 200-pound quarterback known for his running ability, why he didn't put his head down and try to pick up 2 yards for his team?
Well, maybe we had gotten after pretty good the first part of the half, and maybe he was, he didn't want to take another hit there. I know sometimes you try to protect your quarterback a little bit.
Well, and it's not anything directed at him, but you have to understand the flow of the game and what's going on. And we had gotten after him. That's one of the things that I think we make their passing attacks, the teams that we face, go for naught because we put pressure on the quarterback, and they're just trying to get rid of the ball, overshooting receivers, can't pinpoint a passes. I mean, We've had several kids go 4 out of 19 this year on passing when they were rumored to be a pretty decent passer. The Jordan kid last night threw the ball. He had decent completion percentage, but he wasn't getting anything done with his passes. 1 yard gain, 2 yard gain.
Yeah, well, we focused on him. I mean, Coach McClung, we had a pretty good plan. Our focus was to try to limit him as much as possible. We felt like he was their big threat, and he had good games leading up to last night, and we really, our focus defensively was, take care of him first, and let's limit him running the football, and I think we were able to do that, and that kind of led to a very good first half from the defensive side. I think we got caught in man coverage on the big play before the penalty. I think we've been in man coverage a lot, and sometimes, like Coach Allen said, when you do run man coverage, you're kind of gambling a little bit, and they just caught us, and sometimes you get caught in man coverage, but it wasn't a bad, it wasn't a blown coverage. Our kids were there to make a tackle, and you live to fight another day, and they able to come out without giving up a score, so that's a win for us.
And we were able to get him down on the ground regardless of how we tackled him. Right. He could have broken and gone all the way, and I'm not sure who tackled him on that.
It was Trail, and I think Trail kind of had being in the secondary, or coach just kind of watching it, Trail had a pretty good angle to tackle him.
Yeah.
The guy, it was kind of a formation where they hadn't really shown a pass out of that to us. The way they showed it, and we got in zero, and like Jeff just said, we kind of gave us I don't want to say mismatch, but it was a different formation look, and they play actioned it a little bit, and we came downhill and dumped it over his head.
Over the right side of the line, and he catches it, and not anybody within 5, 6, 7 yards of him, and he's able to ramble until Trail.
And Trail came off his man and was able to make the tackle, and we got that horse collar. But I think what it was, Trail kind of got caught in behind him when he went to make the tackle and grabbed his jersey, and he just happened to say, and the guy fell down. It was the right call. I mean, but like Coach Riley said, I mean, you live to fight another day. You take your penalty and you move on with it. So.
Sometimes that happens. And I think on the slide play, thinking about that, I think they come out of a timeout and try to run a little trick play right there, and it kind of blew up on them because our kids saw it. They had a tackle eligible or a tackle out acting like he was eligible, had his numbers covered up, and we were talking about that. And they're going to try to throw the ball to the tight end on the other side, what we call polecat.
It looked like they went one direction to one side and tried to come back.
I think he was coming back, and maybe on the slide, maybe he was thinking, I have the first down, I just need to get down. This is a busted play type thing. So.
Well, that's part of the drive that ended at the 10-yard line with the Tigers taking over and with 1:40 to play in the first half. And on that, we took one drive 95 yards last night. We take this one 90 yards. Big play was a 62-yard pass from Joby to Travis Newsom, with Travis getting several yards after the catch. And, again, that was one of those situations, Bradley, where you thought that you could get Trigg in man-to-man coverage, and we easily get past those guys.
Yes.
It seemed like Oliver and Travis all night long.
You know, and one of the things Coach Will has done all year, he's done an excellent job, I think, of putting our kids in positions to succeed. And, you know, we call it the dog formation, you know, you were talking about earlier, where we got Cole and Hunter in, you know, that was his doings early on in the year, and it's paid dividends. In the play I think you're talking about is where we went quads to one side, where we overloaded one side and then threw a screen back to the other side. And, you know, he did a great job of catching them kind of sleeping. And, you know, Travis, one of the things, you know, there's so many guys on that are, you know, unsung heroes of this team so far this year, and I think Travis Newsom's one of them. You know, he's not flashy, but if you notice when we throw a, you know, a little out or a little hitch to him, it very rarely does one person bring him down, and he's been an unbelievable asset for us this year, and a great find as far as, you know, playing hard every single down for us. And he does a lot of things that go unnoticed, as like, you know, blocking and on screens and on stretch plays and stuff. So
well, we do, and all through that play, I'm thinking, where's the flag? Where's the flag? Because one had been coming all night long, and seemingly when we ran those little screens. And but there was no flag, and we ended up scoring on a 13-yard pass from Joby to Jameer. And at that particular time, we were up. Boyce adds the extra point, and we are leading 20-0 over Trigg, with just about time expired at the end of the first half. But it was going to get more interesting as the clock wound down. Trigg took over, could not do anything again, and they had a 20-yard pass completion, but a pass interception on the next play by Trail Riley gets us at the Trigg 32 with 14 seconds to play. 30-yard pass from Joby to Trail puts us at the 2. We call timeout, and on that pass play, Bradley, just a normal pass. It did not look like we were trying. We threw it short, and Trail
Right.
just about took it all the way.
you know, it's another one of those plays we were trying to take what they gave us and throw it underneath, because we knew when we walked out of our timeout, you could tell they were in kind of a nickel, almost a dime. Well, it really was a dime. It was prevent type coverage, back what we used to call. And so we kind of dumped it underneath to take what they could give us, and you know,
Knowing that we could
right,
try
and
a field goal.
right, and that was kind of the talk coming out. And then Trail busted. I thought for a second he was probably going to score, and you know, give Trigg County credit, their kids didn't quit, and they came down and tackled him on. I think it was about the 2.
Yes.
But that was an excellent play call, and very well executed up front for us. You know, I think our line did probably as good a job. I have to go back and watch film, especially on the screen plays last night, as we've probably done.
Yeah,
As far as getting out and getting flat last night, as they've done in a while.
It seemed like on those screens, especially the screens our side, that the blocking up front was fine, and Joby had a real avenue of where he wanted to throw the ball without any pressure, throwing overhands or throwing around people or dodging people and that. So I think that, you know, our offensive line, another unsung.
Right, and they are, and you know, just to take a little time here, you know, a lot of times we knew coming into the year that our offensive line was going to be a work in progress, and you know, there's been a lot of you know, talk about that, but those guys have came to work every day. They've stepped up. They've came together as a unit. Now, you know, they've still got a ways to go, but you know, if they don't continue to progress, we're not 7-1. And so, you know, those guys are gelling. They're working their tails off, and they're making this team what they are. And you know, Coach McClung and Coach Riley can speak more to this too, but you know, those guys, they don't get individualized. They do things as a unit, and you know, they win and die as a team. They're the epitome of a team on a football within a team on a football team, and you know, they're getting better every single week, and it's showing. It's showing.
And the other thing that just you know, we take for granted, and you can look at the Wildcats, and where we get the snaps over the quarterback's head. John Kelly Hughes has had maybe an excellent season, maybe one missed or one snap over Joey's head, if that. Maybe one low snap, but that's a compliment to that young man, to make about 40 snaps a game and not mess any of them up.
John Kelly is definitely the fire plug of the offensive line, to say the least. He is as high energy an offensive lineman as you would ever and he needs to be because he's 5'6" and 160
He
pounds.
handles the ball on every play
yeah.
too. So
And,
he takes ownership.
He can be a little inconsistent at times, and Joby's done some good things, but he's put that thing on the money, and it's not easy to throw that thing between your legs when you got a big nose guard breathing down your neck there. Pretty good. So
and on those particular plays, they don't make you line up off the center like they do on extra points.
No, he doesn't have any time. He's got to get that ball out and get his hands on somebody, or he's going to get himself in some trouble. But just to reiterate what Coach Allen said, those kids are, they're a little bit of a brotherhood within the brotherhood. They're each other's biggest fan. But I promise you, when one of them messes up, the other four are letting him know. And sometimes you
That's
have
the
to.
mark of a good team.
Yeah, you have to say,
you.
you're like, guys, hey, just relax. We'll get it figured out, because they're tough on each other, but they're all good kids, and they've worked their tails off this year at being better and being good each week, and they understand that as good as they can be is as good as we can be offensively, and I think they've taken that and they've run with it, and hopefully we'll continue to improve up there.
Well, we get to the 2-yard line, we call timeout, and then we bring the power package or the dog formation, as I now know it.
Now you know what to call. That's right.
Exactly.
I can't believe Coach Barnes hasn't told you what it's
I'll
called.
put that on the radio next week maybe. So the idea was to try to, again, we still have pass options out of this formation, but
Right.
we thought we could power it in there, I guess.
Right, and it's become comical because poor old Cole Baker, he's just begging to get the ball, and run it. I think that's probably every lineman's dream is to score a touchdown on an offensive play, not a
We gotta
defensive
get
play.
the ball at least
Yeah.
one carry
Yes.
this year. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, I can block all day long, but put the ball in my hand, Coach, one time. But anyway, you got to hand it to Trigg. They didn't lay down at the goal line at all, and that was, we gained nothing on that play.
Yes, they did a good job.
And with 270 pounds and 230 pounds and Ben Thompson coming at you, the Trigg could have laid down and Dylan could have stepped in there, but not to be. And so that ends the first half, and we'll talk about the second half after we have these messages from our sponsors.
October is National Cooperative Month. Time to remind you how cooperatives work. Very simply, it is people working together to provide services and products. There are over 900 electric cooperatives like Penny Wright Electric, serving 42 million people in 47 United States. Now that covers a lot of territory. Add credit unions, housing, food, health, and agricultural co-ops, and you'll discover more than 29,000 co-ops nationwide. Penny Wright Electric was formed to provide electric service to a few hundred people in the Penny Wright area. Today, we serve over 47,000 members in a 9-county area. We provide that electric power over 5,000 miles of line, over 100,000 poles. We are here to provide solutions and services for better living through electric power. For more information about how co-ops build a better world, visit online www.pracc.com. We are Penny Wright Electric, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
You can always expect great things at Planters Bank. When we say expect great things, what we're really saying is Planters Bank is here to provide the financial services you need. Planters Bank believes in the strength of our community and is a full-service financial institution. Our employees have a true passion for helping our neighbors, and it shows. See Jake Pepper and the rest of the Planters Bank staff at 208 North Jefferson. Planters Bank, member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Fortner Gas Company is a full-service local and family-owned propane company offering services in Princeton, Cadiz, Madisonville, and Murray. Right now, Fortner Gas is offering specials on propane. Fortner Gas offers Holland and Napoleon grills, Dixie choppers, and they also have Red Max weed eaters. Contact Fortner Gas Company today for all of your residential, commercial, and agriculture propane needs. Fortner Gas Company, a family tradition of service since 1951.
And we're back here in the studio with Coach Riley and Coach Salins, and going into halftime last night, Jeff, I'll ask you first. What was, because Bradley may have taken him 10 minutes to get down from the upstairs back to the end zone to do that. What were we saying to our kids at halftime last night?
Well, I think we were just focused on, cleaning some things up offensively, just eliminating some execution mistakes, being positive. By the time Coach McClung got there, defensively, I thought we felt pretty good about where we were. There wasn't a lot of adjustments to be made. Just make sure you don't let up, keep playing with intensity. And, I really don't, from what I was privy to in the conversation, Coach Downs will speak offensively more so. I think it was just shoring things up, understanding we got to play a second half of football, getting the – making sure everybody was okay injury-wise, and having, little substitutions for Dylan and things of that nature, just kind of, the typical halftime adjustments, and coming out, getting ready to play the second half and trying to finish the ball game.
And Bradley, on the offensive side of the ball, what were some of the comments made to your guys?
We were just talking about, what we were getting formation-wise when we line up in certain formations defensively in the secondary and at the linebacker level, what we were getting as opposed to if we were in a 2x2 set or a trip set. And also if we were in the field as opposed to getting in, inside what we call the red zone, what we were getting there and how we would execute that. And I think that was kind of evident when you came out and saw, we throw a touchdown on the second play of the game there. And that was an exact play that we had talked about at halftime, was if we get in a certain set, this is the look we're getting. And we were able to hit Oliver with the post, kind of over the top, and that's kind of what we were talking about at halftime.
And you're right. We take the kick off, and after 2 plays, the first play was a 2-yard run by Jameer, then Joby hooks up with Oliver on the 55-yard pass that you all had been looking at, and when Trigg went into their defensive set, and then that's what the call was.
Yes.
And it looked like Oliver just the safeties were frozen. I don't know that they took a step up, but they just looked buried in the ground, their feet. And Oliver 5 yards past them before he catches the ball, and then they can't chase him down.
Right, that was one of those deals where when we got in that 2x2 set, they went back to that zero coverage, and that was kind of what Coach Barnes was looking for, and we got it. And Joby executed that well, and Oliver did a good job of running the ball down and getting it in the end zone.
And another example of us being able to go deep.
Right.
And out of that particular coverage that Trigg had just put in for that game, more
right.
than likely.
Right.
Again, a lot of those plays that we looked at that we ran successfully last night or talked back and forth between you and Will on the sidelines.
Yes, I mean, Will does most of that himself. He does an excellent job of having a game plan coming in, him and Coach Barnes both, and executing that game plan with our kids. Those two guys right there, Will and Coach Barnes. I thought Coach Barnes worked about as hard as any coach I've ever worked for in my life about as far as being prepared film. I mean, he'd see stuff on film and was like, what are you talking about? And he'd have to show us 3 or 4 times before we'd ever pick up on it. But, Will's following right behind his dad in those footsteps, and that's very neat to see, especially when, you coached him and then you see his dedication to detail and that kind of thing, and that's very neat to see.
And you're right, and it also makes Tiger fans breathe easy when we come out 2 plays later. We have another 7 on the board. Boyce adding the extra point on this. We go up 23-0 just as the third quarter begins. Again, Trigg County unable to make a first down, and they turn the ball over at the Caldwell 48-yard line. Tigers get a 27-yard pass play from Joby to Travis Newsom and an 18-yard run by Jameer to the Trigg 9. But 3 passes in a row that were incomplete. The Tigers then elect to kick a field goal. And on those passes, it looked like that from where we were, they were down at the other end of the field. I couldn't see what we were trying to throw over the middle on a couple of those passes. Bradley, did we think we had guys open on slants or?
It was again one of those deals where we were getting what we thought was zero coverage, and we were getting it for the most part. Then about the second or third drive there, they started backing off. Because we had burned them a couple times.
So they were flooding the coverage.
They were backing those safeties off to where you got a true cover 2 look, where you got a 2 deep safety, and really it was almost like a 4 flat where they would drop the corners and the safeties, and they were protecting against the deep ball. And I'm not sure what Trigg calls it, but that's pretty much what it was, and we were trying to exploit that and kind of hit over the middle.
Threw incomplete passes in a row. One of them almost thrown directly at a Trigg County kid that missed it. And on the deflection, Oliver just about had it for a touchdown. But again, we go to 4th down and we bring Boyce out, and he hits from 27 yards out to make it 30. Caldwell 30, Trigg nothing. And about all this time, there were some things going on over the sidelines that we didn't know what was happening up in the booth. We'd have a play, and then we'd have the officials huddle for about 4 minutes, and then we didn't know what was happening. We found out later that one of the chain members had been tossed out of the game, and as a former over 20 years of service on our chain crew here in Princeton, I never was part of a crew that had anybody thrown out of the game. But the way y'all described this before we went on air this morning was kind of comical as to what was going on over there. So we didn't know on our side what was going on until maybe a quarter later. And what is going on? Is somebody sick? Are we going to have to get an ambulance? Somebody had a heart attack over on the other side, or what's going on over there?
Well, he just he wouldn't let it go. I mean, he had his 2 cents worth, and then we kind of alerted the officials of his 2 cents worth, and he wanted $1 or $2 out of it. So I think he probably did get his money's worth before he was escorted.
And that's one
out.
of those things that I think 15, 20 years from now will make for a great story when we all get together and laugh and chuckle.
We'll be giggling about that one for a while.
Well, just as a member of that fraternity, how can you lose your cool that quickly? And that when you're losing 30-0 is beyond me. But anyway, Trigg then takes over after we score. They can't move, and they punt to the Tigers, and Caldwell takes over at our 38-yard line. A big play on that. It's a 15-yard sack of Joby. We go 3 and out. Joby was under some pressure 3 or 4 times last night, severe pressure. Got out of pressure maybe a couple times, but they sacked him twice for maybe 12-yard loss one time, 15-yard loss on this particular sack, Bradley.
The 1 or 2 times we kind of had a miscommunication on a couple plays, and I think we had the lineman downfield on one of those plays where Joby got a late hit. That was kind of a miscommunication on plays with some things. And, that happens. I mean, that's part of the game. You just got to play the next play and keep going. And there were some breakdowns there at times, but I thought our kids did a really good job of handling that and bouncing back. So, and that was key.
That sack on Joby occurs on 3rd down, and on 4th down we have a punt blocked. Trigg taking over to Caldwell 17-yard line, and it looked like maybe 3 times. We get it blocked once. We have 2 that we have to hurry to get the ball off. And were they over penetrating one side of our line?
They just I think what they started sending some guys more than what they had in the first half in different slots, and they were just able to bust through and get through and get to us, And again, I keep saying this, but when you get a zero coverage look, they're gambling. They're bringing the house on you, and usually, more than likely, they're bringing one more. If you're getting that zero coverage look, they're bringing one more than you can block, and you just got to be able to find your matchup and exploit that matchup. And the Trigg County teams of old, I think it was Coach Higgins was there. That was a staple. It was a zero coverage, and they were bringing the house every play. And so that's not really what we saw last night, but it was a little bit of that, and that's just kind of what happens. They brought one more than what we could block a couple times.
I think the punt pressure, it's just a matter of the kid just didn't step down like he's supposed to. It's just I think he thought he had an inside gap and he should have had an outside gap, and it's something I know Coach Barnes will address on film on Monday, and that's something we'll get fixed. And so it's just one of those things where you had a kid who just made a mistake in execution, and it led to
and that's
a play
in our
for them.
backfield, one of the guys stepping out like that, because I felt like that guy had direct approach to.
Yeah, I think it was on the line. I don't want to say the kid's name, but it was on the line. He's just going to have to remember he's got to step out instead of stepping down.
Yeah, the block punt, the kid that broke through, he was, I think, what you'd call not impeded.
Yes.
Unimpeded.
Untouched,
yes.
Maybe the better word, unimpeded.
Yes, there you go.
Not blocked,
Not,
maybe?
Yeah, it's
right.
easy. Game's easier when they don't block you sometimes.
But again, on that play, the Trigg takes over, and then Trigg switches quarterbacks at that particular time, brings in a new quarterback, and on the first play, he gets sacked by Hunter. Ball's loose. Tate picks it up. Tate rumbles, bumbles, and stumbles. That's what we were calling on the radio. That's a classic bumbling, rumbling, stumbling run. But to Tate's credit, gets to the 20, and then they have a penalty, I guess, on the hit or whatever, piling on, and gets us to the 10-yard line. But Tate covers 52 yards on that particular play. And Jeff, I'll let you speak to the defensive pressure on that.
Will Bashir got a little banged up there right in the middle of the third quarter. And, we were up enough. I think, if Will, Will's going to go. But we were up enough that we felt like we could kind of give Will a rest and get some ice on his ankle, and that provided an opportunity for Tate. And we were just playing defense, the same defense we've been playing. We, brought a little pressure, and the kid bobbled the snap and got loose, and Tate, got to make up for his drop pass by picking up and gaining 50 on the defensive side. So he got in there and got a good taste of it.
Yes. I was hoping the kid could make it all the way, because it was a nice run to watch him penetrate, weave in and out of blockers.
I know this.
His biggest hurdle may have been trying
the
to
other
get through
Van
our
Hooser boys probably would have scored, or at least that's what they're telling him this morning.
It was a good laugh. Holly and Ben were down there after it was over, and Ben said he was hollering, "Run, run!" Said somebody in the stands turned around and said, "I think he was." But it's great to see those kids step up and play. And
well, he had to execute through. He picked up a trail early on of blockers, maybe two. There was, I know Hunter was on the ground from having made the tackle, but a couple of our kids.
I think Cole Baker got out in front.
Escorted him.
That's not too bad. A guy to have out in front of you.
No, but you don't want to outrun Cole either.
Yeah, that's true.
Out there trying to clear the way for you. But it was a fascinating, a nice experience, and certainly Tate won't forget that ever. Weaving in and out of defensive guys that were catching up to him, our offensive blockers, and to get to the 20-yard line is a compliment to his ability to know what to do with the ball. But we end up picking up another touchdown on a 5-yard run by Jameer again. The extra point was good by Boyce Nichols, and we finally get that running clock with us going up 37-0 over Trigg County, which I think I stood up in the press box on that one after seeing a lot of flags fly last night. We'll talk about those. A lot of drop balls. This confrontation on the sideline with the chain gang, that took up about 5 to 10 minutes in the third quarter. So, but anyway, the Tigers are up 37-0 at that time. Trigg only has it for 2 more drives. A lot of pass incompletions. Trigg does score on their last drive to make it 37-6. They go for 2 and don't make it. And the Tigers really, in essence, 3 and out on the next to final drive, and then on the final drive we go into the victory formation and run off about 2 minutes of the clock on 3 plays. But after the game, when we got the kids together, what were some of the comments the coaching staff was passing on to the kids?
Well, from what I heard, it was just great job coming out and doing what we had to do. It's very similar to what with Union County. You got to come out, and our goal was to get the win and secure the district, secure the #1 seed. And, Union County helped us out a little bit last night by beating Fort Campbell, and that's kind of what we were able to do. And the kids come out, and, it wasn't always pretty, but we took care of business, got out on the positive side. It's good to beat your rival, and, and it's a little bit of a bigger rival when it's a district game. The game means a little more, and, just proud of their effort. And, probably as a staff, we're a little concerned about some of the bangs and bruises we have coming in next week. That's something we'll have to address. And I know Mike will be on top of those guys, and, we'll get them sure away. And, over the last couple of weeks, we've really had some kids step up in some injury situations and play well. So if that has to happen this week, and, depending on what happens with Dylan, that may have to happen. And Cameron and Isaiah may have to come in and play a little bit of a dual role like they did. But I think we were very happy to come out with the win, and, pleased with our kids' effort, and, pretty positive, coming into fall break, get a little bit of rest from school, but football's got to come on. And so I think it was pretty good.
And going back to the offensive side, I knew that Luke Stallings had been out for a couple games. Bradley, did he play most of the snaps?
Yes.
Most of the snaps last night?
Yeah.
So so Noah was in reserve in case he couldn't go.
Right.
And we're going to take a break here, Ty, and be back with a look at the stats after these messages from our sponsors.
Princeton Drug Company, 103 West Main in Princeton, proudly features low-cost prescriptions and friendly service. Princeton Drug offers in-town delivery, in-store pickup, or a convenient drive-through window. Princeton Drug has a wide selection of Christian greeting cards for every occasion. Princeton Drug is open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30, and on Saturday from 8:30 to 2:30. No deliveries on Saturday. Princeton Drug, 103 West Main Street, Princeton. Phone 365-5585.
Hello, this is Gloria Smith with the Law Office of Jeff Russo. Are you buying or selling real estate? Are you planning on refinancing your existing home loan? If so, you should be aware that you have your choice in which attorney provides the legal services associated with such transactions. Our law office has over 50 years of experience in real estate law. We pride ourselves on being cost-effective and having a quick turnaround time. If you're in need of such services, call us today at 365-2763 or find us on the web at www.jeffrussolaw.com. We are located in downtown Princeton on the east side of the courthouse.
This is an advertisement.
And we're back here for the final segment of the quarterback show this morning. And looking at the stats last night for Caldwell in the rushing department, we see Jameer with 12 rushes for 79 yards, and that's still our focus, Bradley, and trying to get him with several rushes and attempts and get our running game still further established.
Yes, I think he's done a very good job of coming in there and being. That's unselfish of him. You go in the last 2 years and he was the starting Y, and now they put him in, and he's able to and willing to go back to that F position and help us out. And it's key for us to have somebody back there.
We have Seth Slayton, 3 carries for 4 yards. Trail, 1 carry for 3 yards. Dylan, 2 carries for 1 yard and a touchdown. Travion Samuel, 1 carry for 1 yard. Joby, the 3 carries for a -22, and the team, 2 carries for a -2. 24 carries last night for 64 yards for the Tigers, but in the passing department, Joby was 19 out of 30 for 326 yards. Jameer catching 7 of those balls for 64 yards. Travis Newsome, 5 for 137. Oliver, 4 for 81. Both Travis and Oliver getting touchdowns. Trail, 3 catches for 44 and totaling 326 yards. Russ Bashir was 0 for 1 when he was in there. Trigg County last night, a total of 49 yards in the air. 49 yards on the ground with 35 rushes, which speaks to our defensive play there. Passing 73 yards, 40 of that coming on one play,
Right.
and I think 20 on another play. So in essence, we had them bottled up all night long last night, Jeff.
Yeah, our defense has kind of been very consistent for us. Those kids, Coach McClung does a great job of keeping it as simple as he can, and just kind of giving those guys 2 or 3 things to focus on and just letting them go play. I think it's really paid off. You have great senior leadership on the defensive side of the ball. Those guys have been playing defense together for a long time, and no matter what role they play, they play it with some enthusiasm, and they're big physical kids, and we'll get after you on defense a little bit, and that's a confidence building thing, I think. And so
I think defense always, as they say, builds character.
Right. Yeah.
And with the tackle situation last night, Hunter again leads the team with 11 tackles. Cole Baker, 10. Cole was really active last night in that defensive line. Dylan Gray, 7 tackles. Devin Kilgore, good to have him back in the lineup. He was everywhere.
Yeah, Devin I thought he had maybe his best game. He's a sophomore starter and got a little banged up against Tillman and didn't get to play against Union County, and I think he came back in and right off the bat made his presence felt. A couple of tackle for losses, and he's a little undersized guy too. That's not a typical defensive lineman kid, but he plays his tail off, and he's learning. And as he gets older, I think he'll just get better and better. So I was really pleased to have him back. And
an excellent game by that young man. Will Bashir with 6 tackles. Russ, his brother, with 5. Caleb Burden with 5, Mitchell Harrelson with 4, Seth Slayton with 3, and one of Seth's tackles probably saved a kickoff return.
Yeah.
At least I don't have Coach Barnes to kid about Boyce Nichols having to make all the tackles on the kickoff.
Well, Boyce tried. I think Boyce rerouted the guy on that return, and Seth, through his credit to Seth, hustling back to the football, and he was able to catch him because Boyce kind of got a piece of him, and I think the kid had to make a move on Boyce a little bit, and Seth was able to get him from behind. But, yeah, those little special teams things, those are opportunities for some of those younger kids to get in and play and get some confidence. And I'm pretty sure a couple of Russ's tackles were on special teams. So, those, you call those guys' names out, and those are guys that are going to be big for us as we go to the playoffs, as kids that we can count on to play varsity minutes.
And depth is what they're providing right now.
Right.
What 8 games into the season has created for us some depth.
Yeah, those young kids have really grown up a lot, and I think through some JV play, but mostly getting in the varsity game and having some success. I think they're going to be big for us as we gear up here to try to make a little bit of a playoff run.
And then Tate with three tackles, Cameron Baker, who we mentioned earlier, coming in for Dylan Cavanaugh, 2 tackles, Mac Engelbright with 2. Fumble recovery by Tate, interception by Trail, Calls fumble by Hunter and Dylan Gray, and we had Will Bashir with 1 sack and half a sack each for Caleb Burden, Mitchell Harrelson, Cole Baker, and Dylan Gray. So, and the other stat that stands out here are the penalties. Caldwell penalized 16 times last night for 150 yards, Trigg 11 times for 100 yards, and that definitely slows down the pace of the game. And I'm sure some of that was because of the natural rivalry between Trigg and Caldwell. Some stuff I think that have been going back and forth on Facebook, and maybe some trash talking on the field or whatever. But I'm sure we'll try to keep our kids quiet as we head into the postseason.
The Coach Barnes role, and that's something we're definitely going to have to get fixed before we take the field again. And I know on film we will address that on film, and I promise it'll be addressed on Monday when the kids get back, the penalties. And some of those penalties are just plain penalties. Trail's horse collar. He's a kid trying to make a play, and he just happened to catch a kid in an illegal position. That happens. Some of those, they called Hunter one time for illegal head contact, but he just kind of in the course of the tackle, those things happen. So those aren't, we're going to tell them to be aware of it, but those aren't really correctable. But the emotion side of things.
At the same time, he was not leading with his head. That's where the official has to be a little bit discreet on. Was it a helmet? I know that's what the call was, but when I saw the play happening, I didn't think his helmet was anywhere near the kid. But I'm up 50 yards away, and they got better eyes, I guess, on the field.
Yeah, it's their job to make that call. But I just feel, some of those little things, I promise he'll address. Because 16 penalties for that amount of yardage is
16
something
penalties.
we can work on for sure.
That's too many, and we know that, and the kids are going to know that.
And that takes away from some of our yardage. It took away a couple plays I know last night that we had big gains on. Our opponent this week coming up is Fort Campbell. We get to host them at home, and from here on out, hopefully we'll have to make the road trip one more time after last night's game, and that will be to Lexington. That'd be great if we could get that done. But Fort Campbell comes in next Friday night with the Hall of Fame game here for Tigers being inducted into the Caldwell County Football Hall of Fame. And injuries before we leave the broadcast this morning, Bradley and Jeff, I knew we were talking about Will with maybe a rolled ankle at the end of the game still.
I think that's something he's been nursing a little bit. I don't think it was a serious, as in
tweaked it a little bit.
Right. I think it was one of those precautionary things to where we just, let's hold him out, get ice on it, let him stay off of it. And, the game was in hand, so we felt like at the time. And, so I think his is just something that's going to be kind of a day-to-day type thing.
And Dylan Cavanaugh, what type of leg injury might he have?
It's his knee.
Or knee.
I think they're going to evaluate that probably today or Monday, a little more extensively. We got our fingers crossed on that one, but we'll see what that is on Monday.
Something minor,
And as we mentioned earlier, the Tigers, the District 1 champs of Class 3A, and that's something that going into the season to be 7-1 right now is something that people would have, anybody would have said at the end of 8 games in the season we'd be 7-1, we'd be hearing a lot of scoffing and that's not going to happen, guys.
Right.
Type of talk, but. Caldwell County took a big crowd over there last night, and they were apparently obviously into it. I don't know whether that created the fracas for the chain gang guy to get thrown out or what, but anyway, at least they got to see a little football and a little shenanigans on top of that. But final thoughts, Bradley, before we hang this show up and put it in the box. Any final thoughts from you?
I think it's a rivalry game. It was one of those games where you said it probably wasn't pretty, but a lot of times rivalry games aren't pretty. It's just outlast your opponent, and I thought our kids did an excellent job. I thought our defense did well. I think they had a hard time blocking our down guys, and that was pretty much what set the tone for the rest of the game. They couldn't get anything going offensively, and last night was kind of a microcosm, I think, of our year so far. Our defense set the tone, and offense may not have been flashy and pretty at times, but it was effective, and that's kind of the mark of this team. This may not be the most talented team we've had, and it probably ain't the most flashy team we've had, but it may be one of the most effective, and this team fights, and they're a scrappy bunch of kids that I don't know that many of them know the word quit, and that's why we're 7-1 when you boil it down.
And Jeff, any final thoughts?
I agree 100% what Coach Allen said, and speaking to the crowd, it's always good to, when I think Coach Allen's pointed it out last night right before the game, you look at their side and you look at our side, and we've got equal or greater numbers. At most places when we go somewhere, our crowd is equal to theirs, and that is big for our kids. It's big for our program, and I'd like to thank all those people who take the time to come out and watch these guys play, and because they work hard through the week, and it's definitely a fun atmosphere having all that blue and gold around. So.
Well, my thanks to Coach Jeff Riley and Coach Bradley Stallings for coming in today, pinch hitting for baseball term here, Bradley, pinch hitting for Coach Barnes, and join me next Friday night at 6 o'clock for the Coach David Barnes pregame show. And at 6:30, join us for the play-by-play and live stream of the Caldwell County versus Fort Campbell football game. For Ty Englebright here in the studios, for Coach Stallings, for Coach Riley, this is Bob Hayes saying have a nice, pleasant Saturday.
This is Fred Foltz at the Woodall Agency.